Movie's story explained here. Today I'm going to show a 2019 Argentine-Spanish crime thriller film called 4x4. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. A man named Cairo walks around a neighborhood in Buenos Aires at the start of the film. Cairo is a thug who will break into an automobile that piques his attention. He enters the vehicle and removes the stereo from the overhead compartment. Cairo snatches a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses and stashes them in his pocket. He's still not pleased with invading the car, so he clenches his butt to force out a fart. He eventually feels that his task is finished, so he walks out the door, but it doesn't open. He tries the other 3 doors, but they are all locked. With no other option, he is obliged to take a seat in the rear seat and attempt to unlock the trunk. When he fails to do so, he becomes panicked and frantically tries, but fails, to break the car's window. The seasoned thug, on the other hand, refuses to give up and dismantles the car's inner door. He then puts his hand inside the door and tries to open it, only to severely injure himself. He starts bleeding, but the car door remains shut. When everything else fails, Cairo takes his rifle and fires at the front window. The bullets, however, ricochet off his thighs and puncture them. Cairo screams in agony and is dripping blood excessively. Cairo undresses and drapes his shirt around the wound. Cairo was trying to avoid being observed, but after shooting himself in the foot, he tries to catch someone on the outside's attention to help him get out of the automobile. Even if it meant he'd have to serve time in prison. Fortunately, a woman appears outside the car and begins applying makeup through the window. Cairo tries to enlist her assistance, but it looks that the woman outside the car is oblivious to the fact that Cairo is inside. He yells at her, but she ignores him and walks away. Cairo tries to call his wife, but the phone's battery expires before the call can be completed. After several hours, Cairo falls asleep. The next day, Cairo is terribly thirsty. He's out of water and has no choice but to lick the fog from the window in desperation. He then pulls the vehicle stereo out of his backpack and replaces it, in order to listen to the radio. When his favorite song comes on the radio, he becomes lost in the music and forgets about his problems, if only for a time. Despite the fact that the song is about having intercourse in the automobile, it also happens to be about Cairo's circumstance. It mentions cloudy windows, reclining seats, and doing it all night, and for some reason, the song inspires him to try opening the door again, which he does. As he repeatedly slams a tool against the door, the phone begins to ring. It's the car's audio system. When Cairo answers the phone, a man on the other end speaks. Dr. Enrique Ferrari is the man's name, and he welcomes Cairo inside the automobile. Enrique goes on to say that he owns the vehicle and has been robbed 28 times in his life. He goes on to say that Cairo is the 29th robber to attempt to steal from him. Cairo is enraged by the news and begs to be let free, but Enrique urges him to quiet up and listen to Enrique. Then he dials his 4x4 automobile, which has an alarm system that is linked to his phone and allows Enrique to lock all of the car's doors. It is bulletproof, but due to active suspension, it cannot be moved from the inside. It's also soundproof, with polarized windows on all sides, including the front windshield. The gas tank, which can contain 120 liters of fuel and is currently full, is the only thing that isn't bulletproof. Enrique cautions him that a full gas tank is a potential bomb, and that if he does something foolish, the automobile will explode with him. Enrique adds, as Cairo hears in surprise, that he is a widower who was born in Quilmes 60 years ago. He grew up in a typical middle-class family. His dwelling's doors were never secured at the time. Enrique claims that his current life is in such a horrible shape that he longs for the life he had as a child. He asked Cairo what he would do if he saw his son stealing, but Cairo has had enough and has threatened to denounce Enrique to the authorities. Enrique is ordered to release him so that Cairo can kill him and his entire family. The phone, however, hangs up before Cairo can finish. Enrique then switches on the air conditioner and sets it to the coldest setting possible to torture the thief. Cairo attempts unsuccessfully to switch off the air conditioner. When Cairo has no other option, he removes his shirt from his wound and wears it to halt the blood in his foot. He tears a section of his jeans and uses it to wrap around his wound. Enrique calls him again after tormenting the thief for an hour and asks him what he would do if he caught his son stealing. He informs him that if he answers the question right, he would give him water. Enrique is not satisfied with Cairo's response to the inquiry. Cairo begs him to stop saying he's learned his lesson, but Enrique is unconcerned and continues to tell Cairo about an incident. He says 2 men broke into his daughter's house last December when she was parked her car. Enrique admits that he has prepared his daughter for such circumstances. She avoids eye contact at all costs and always has cash on hand. The instruction, however, was insufficient, and the robbers held Enrique's grandsons at gunpoint for 3 hours. Cairo, on the other hand, is uninterested in Enrique's tales and asks him what type of doctor would deprive a wounded person of water. Enrique compliments him on his query and asks him to guess what type of doctor he is before hanging up. As Cairo mulls over his options, a police cruiser pulls up beside his SUV. He is filled with hope once more, and he tries to catch the cop's attention, but the cop instead issues the vehicle a ticket and leaves many hours later. Enrique calls again, this time asking for Cairo's complete name and identification number in exchange for some water. After Cairo has agreed, Enrique leads him to the water in the back washer hose. Although the water is pale blue in color, a dehydrated Cairo seems unconcerned and gulps it down, exhaling a sigh of relief. Cairo, on the other hand, is still hungry and without food. As a result, he feels practically compelled to devour one insect that has found its way into the vehicle. Later, Cairo examines his wound and discovers that it is turning yellow and that he is suffering from a fever. Enrique decides to give him a respite and turns on the air conditioning for Cairo to chill down, revealing that he, too, is unwell. Enrique is dying of cancer and has been given a year to live by his physicians. Cairo takes off his clothing and passes out while Enrique continues to blabber. Cairo's skin has become yellow as well. Later, Cairo looks through the automobile manual for a way out, but all he manages to do is eat a page out of despair and frustration. In order to satiate his thirst, he pisses in a jar and drinks his own piss. When a burglar tries to get into the vehicle, things look up for Cairo. However, the thief is caught by passers-by, who beat him up and deliver him over to the cops. As night falls, he becomes a philosopher as a result of dehydration and hunger. He mentions how a small number of individuals have a lot of stuff that needs to be shared so that everyone can enjoy it. He goes on to say that the world is full of impoverished people who are subjected to laws enacted by rich people for the benefit of affluent people. Even if they shoot him, Cairo maintains he will not obey them. He explains that's why, like his father and grandpa, he became a thief. Enrique contacts him the next day and reads him the article. Enrique says he's in a good mood, so he leads him behind the brakes to a secret chocolate bar. Cairo persistently strikes on one of the doors after spending the day relaxing and studying the people in the area. From the inside, he was able to peel it down to its metal component. He eventually succeeds in making a small hole in the door that opens to the outside. He cries through the little hole in an attempt to get someone's attention, but to no avail. Later, Enrique phones to say that he has contacted Cairo's family. When Cairo hears his family's name, he breaks down and warns Enrique not to destroy them. He then asks, with tears in his eyes, what he'd done to him to deserve this. Enrique, on the other hand, does not stop and digs out Cairo's criminal record, revealing that Cairo has previously killed someone. A sobbing Cairo denies killing anyone. Enrique has receipts, and he shows that Cairo attempted to rob the Salerno brothers in Baracas, but they fought back, and Cairo shot them with his gun. Enrique also mentions an elderly bus driver that Cairo severely abused, but Cairo refuses to accept responsibility, blaming the driver for not allowing him to plunder the passengers. He claims that he committed errors and that he has already paid for them. Cairo uses solar power to charge his phone and dials his wife's number, but the call goes directly to voicemail. He admits everything to his wife in the message and apologizes for messing up again. After bawling his eyes out, Cairo tries the car's start button and, presumably, succeeds in turning it on. After pressing it a set number of times, it can be started without a key. He fastens his seatbelt and shifts the gear into reverse. The gear, however, becomes locked in reverse mode, forcing him to drive in backward. To get people's attention, he speeds up the automobile and crashes it into a post. Fortunately, The airbag deploys in a timely manner, and he is unharmed. Cairo is ultimately able to escape by kicking down the weakened back glass. He is in excruciating pain, yet he manages to drag himself to a local gas station diner and help himself to some food, relishing every bite. The manager of the restaurant tells him to pay for the food and go right away. This enrages Cairo, who shoots the manager as a result. Cairo then wakes up, realizing that he was dreaming and that he is still trapped in the automobile. Enrique calls again, and Cairo threatens to kill himself, but the latter is unfazed. Cairo, enraged, raises his gun to his mouth and pulls the trigger, but the gun jams. Enrique chuckles at the thief's plight and instructs him to look in front of the vehicle. Finally presenting himself, Enrique joins him in the car. Cairo is exhausted to the point of exhaustion, and he lacks the energy to flee. Enrique attends to Cairo's wound before becoming sidetracked by a work call, causing Cairo to appear to fall asleep. Cairo then tries unsuccessfully to kill the insane doctor and climbs out of the car. Once out, he fires a shot in the air to summon assistance. Enrique, on the other hand, catches up with him and tries to take him back to the SUV. When a policewoman sees the two, she tells the doctor to put down his gun. 2 hours have passed. The scene has been besieged by onlookers, media, and police, but Enrique refuses to let Cairo leave, claiming that he is the victim or the thief. When everything else fails, the cops summon retired negotiator Julio Almadio, who asks the doctor what he wants. Enrique then goes on to enumerate a number of issues that he encounters on a daily basis and about which the government does nothing. Because no one was wounded, Enrique claims he had to avoid 2,000 dog poops on the street while walking to work because dog owners don't clean up after their pets when no one is looking. The public identifies with Enrique and supports him. Julio does not give up and continues to speak with Enrique, eventually persuading him to release Cairo. Julio asks Enrique to surrender after the police arrest Cairo, but he gets in his car after installing a timer on top of his car. Julio thinks it's a bomb and tells everyone to back up. The vehicle explodes, killing Enrique but kindling a fire in the hearts of the commoners. That was the entirety of the video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it. To see more videos like this, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a like. It really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.